Are you a good doctor?
I used to be. I won an award once from the mayor. Had an expensive frame.
They're all gonna die.
The day I get out of prison, my own brother picks me up in a police car.
It's the Al Travis Show, and we're lucky to have this next guest on the program. We have not had him on before, I do not believe. He is Brian McDaniel. He is with, well, a lot of things, but Momentum Advocacy now. Brian, thanks for coming on the program.
Very glad to be on, Al.
I don't want to over-exaggerate it, but you've been in the business a long time. You're an attorney, a college professor. What college, might I ask?
I teach American government at Concordia University in St. Paul.
All right. You're in government relations over 25 years, both side in and outside the Capitol. I'm reading your lobby. You had a lobbying career, legislative director to the Speaker of the House here in Minnesota. You've got the chops for it. You're also, if I'm not mistaken, on the Wrong About Everything podcast, correct?
Yeah, actually, I'm one of the founders of it. So we are right about at our 11th year, which is a pretty long time for a podcast.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the original podcasts. I mean, I don't know how long podcasts been around, but that's got to be up there at the front of them. All right. So I thank you for taking the time to be on. You work with Amy Koch. That's who we generally get on. I've heard of Momentum Advocacy before. How is that going? And what exactly do you do?
Well, Amy and I are the principals of the firm, and we spend about 23 hours a day together, which is way too much.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot. I can take her for 20 minutes. But no, I like it. So what exactly does Momentum Advocacy do? Might as well throw a quick plug in because I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, we are a full-service lobbying and government affairs firm. Some of us are lawyers, some of us aren't. But the way I describe it is, if you had to go to court, you would hire a lawyer to help you navigate the legal system. If you have a bill that you want to pass or stop or influence in any way, you should hire lobbyists or public affairs people to help you navigate the legislative system, because it's for someone who's been doing it for 25 years. It's always different and it's not logical. And people who are well adjusted don't do very well in it. So you need someone who's very, very broken in a specific.
I love that. Momentum Advocacy. Let's talk about that. The not understanding the process. I'll just throw it out to you. It seems weird to me that the powers, the governor and the head of the Senate and the head of the House all get together yesterday, they've been getting together this last week, to put together the numbers we should hit.
Yeah.
Seems like cart behind the horse, or in front of the horse kind of situation, where all these legislators have been doing stuff for bills and yada, yada, trying to get a budget together, and they don't even know the number they got to hit.
Well, and as someone who teaches, the more I teach American government and become kind of a small d Democrat, the more I'm offended by just the process of government in the state of Minnesota. I've been doing this 25 years. I started off, as a committee staff in the House of Representatives, and eventually was legislative director to the Speaker. So I have been in these negotiations many times, and I've been part of deals that I felt like we got the long end of the stick on, and I've been on deals where I thought we got the short end of the stick. I've never been part of a process like this one, where leaders negotiated a deal. For anyone just listening, I'm using air quotes. They negotiated a deal with a lot of controversial items in it, specifically, denying healthcare benefits to undocumented people, without bringing it back to their caucus to make sure that they are okay with this deal. That doesn't happen. Whenever you negotiate a deal, you're always going to have people who don't like the deal. They don't have skin in the game, and it's very easy for them to say, you should have gotten more for that. But you have to let the elected officials go through all the different stages of grief, anger, and then acceptance and bargaining. They didn't do that. And by they, I mean, Democrat leadership in the House and the Senate. Republicans right now, they feel like they negotiated a fantastic deal. And it's the Democrats who are saying, what did you agree to? And I have not seen it done this way. And it's a dereliction of duty.
Well, it seems interesting, and maybe it comes from the fact they had all three chairs 2 years ago, so you kind of get used to it. The new guys in, I get what I want, things work well. But your point about them not knowing that was how that was going to go. The management up here isn't new to this. The government been here six years. The management of the Senate side, they've got 6 years, I believe, as well. They're not new to it. Did they know the blowback they were going to get? Is it a calculated risk they took? Did they have, for folks who don't know, if you don't mind me, Brian, real quick, right as the governor was announcing this, in a very long conference, by the way, I will tell you, I watched about 5 minutes of it, then I turned it off because, okay, I got the gist. I missed out that when that was going out, a bunch of Democrats, about 30, went to the door. They're pounding on the door. They were mad. They're chanting about this is killing our communities. They were not in any way going for this. They did seem shocked. I've never seen that happen before.
No. I mean, I've seen people be upset about a deal. I've heard people say, well, I'm not going to vote for this. I've never seen them blindsided by this. Now, I'm not in the room, so for all I know, they did communicate it, but I really doubt it based on the reaction to it. But you had asked if this was a calculated risk. If this was a calculated risk, they're really bad at math because this missed the mark pretty severely in a way that I don't know how they can walk it back. The Posse Caucus, which is the People of Color Indigenous Caucus, they had a press conference after the main press conference where they said they're not voting for this, which means you need more Republicans to vote for this to make up for the Posse Caucus members who aren't going to vote for it. And to do that now, the Senate Republicans were not brought into the negotiations at all, which means they're saying, we didn't agree to anything. If you want our votes, you got to give us more, which means that the eventual deal is going to be worse than this one for the Democrats.
But this falls apart, doesn't it? I mean, what I'm saying is it's Friday, Monday they're supposed to be done. No one believes they'll get done. But as soon as that Posse Caucus or any of them, I mean, it's too close for any of this, let alone 30 of them, once they say we won't vote for that deal, management, it's over. You're not going to get 30 Republicans to jump ship, right? You're not going to say 30. You're going to say, this is so great, we can't pass it up. They hold fast. This all goes away, and now we're renegotiating from the beginning.
Well, I mean, they might be able to get Republicans because this is a good deal for Republicans. We don't know everything that's in it. But there's cuts in spending. There's a rollback of the healthcare benefits for undocumented people. Republicans might be willing to vote for this, but if you're the governor, if you're the Democrat leadership, you negotiated a deal that Republicans are happy to vote for. Yeah. If you're Tim Walz, you are acting like you want to be president, but the only two things you did this year of note is tell state workers they have to come back to work without consulting the unions and denying healthcare benefits that you just gave to undocumented people. And whether you think that's a good deal or a bad deal, that's immaterial, because even if you think undocumented people, we're going to pay for them one way or the other, this is a better way to do it. They so undercounted the amount of people that were going to be taking part in this program that it's economically unsustainable, even if you want to do it, even if you support it.
Well, let's do this. Let's go to break, because I love the idea you think the Republicans are for this. I'm trying to look at this. Everything they do has to do with the next election, right? We're going to find out all this stuff as it comes out in the next couple of days, what it is, what it doesn't mean. And I want to see where it sticks. And I want to talk about that with you, if you don't mind. It's Brian McDaniel with Momentum Advocacy and Wrong About Everything podcast. Love having him on. We'll talk more about that right after this.
All the special interests are represented in St. Paul. But who speaks for you? Center of the American Experiment does. Our policy fellows dig into the tough issues that matter to you and offer common sense solutions on education, taxes, crime, and energy. American Experiment is the trusted, nonpartisan voice of Minnesotans like you. We are working every day to make Minnesota a better, safer, more prosperous place. We are American Experiment. Go to americanexperiment.org to learn more.
If it's your turn to host a game, Grandpa's Barbecue suggests you try something different. Put out the perfect barbecue flavor of Grandpa's Barbecue. Add it to your ribs, dip the meatballs, or drench your wings in the original flavor of Grandpa's Barbecue. It isn't too hot or spicy, fruity or smoky or whatever. Grandpa's Barbecue. Available in select stores and online at grandpasbarbecueshop.com.
Amongst friends, the Al Travis Show. Nothing but talk.
Lucky to have him. Brian McDaniel, who's with Momentum Advocacy. Check him out. Also, Wrong About Everything podcast. Here's what I was going in the break with, and I want you to expound. If you look at it from the Republican side, what they get, I'm always looking, this is the next election. That's what we're looking at. Budget goes from $71 billion to 66. Everybody's going to tell you what a cut it is. Go back 2 more years, it was $54 billion. This is 30% higher. It's hard to believe we can't pay for anything. My opinion, I'm a right and wrong kind of guy. I think some Republicans, some far righties are going to say, hey, you're just slowing down this increase. We're not putting a stop on anything. Then we go to the unemployment insurance for the teachers of the schools. If you're a janitor and you get the 3 months off, you're a bus driver, you get 3 months off. Republicans say, well, that doesn't work. It's going to crush schools, You know what? We'll let it go for a couple more years. As a Republican, I'm thinking to myself, that looks ishy to me. You're telling me it's bad. You give them something. Now they'll have it for 4 years. You think it's going to be easier in 2028 to get rid of it? I think they must be thinking they're going to somehow get a massive majority. And then I'll give you the last one. The illegal immigrants getting free health care, right? Wasn't there 2 years ago. They did keep it for children, which I think fends off some of the negativity as far as the commercials will go in a year and a half. Well, they took health care from children. That would have crushed them. I think it's all a game. Who wins this fight for next year's election?
Well, I mean, it's complicated because let's remember, Donald Trump was impeached by the House, and it wasn't even a campaign issue by the next November. So things always pop up that kind of make things like this not as relevant. And you're 100% right. the state of Minnesota's, kind of fiscal health is not great. And, this makes it not better, but less worse, if that's a way to say it. However, Republicans are not in control of anything. They don't have the governor. They don't have a majority in the Senate, and they only have a tie in the House. So with that being true, not just, keeping the status quo, but rolling things back a little bit is something that they should be proud of, and most of them will be. Absolutely, somebody might say they didn't get enough. But as somebody who's done this a long time, I think they got a surprising amount based on the relatively, low amount of power they have. Now, this agreement was made on May 15th. If you're the Democrats and you're taking away healthcare benefits from undocumented adults, if you do that on June 30th, the day before shutdown, you can say, we fought like hell. We tried everything we could. Those evil Republicans wouldn't let us do this. We're sorry. Vote more of us in and we'll fix this. When you do it on May 15th, you just agreed to it. And that's going to be their problem with their own base. You're going to see a lot of Democrats get primaried from the left on what they did yesterday, whether that happens or not. Republicans, depending on what the president does, because it used to be all politics is local. Now almost
not anymore.
Almost no politics is local. So if Donald Trump kind of keeps things improving after what I think was a pretty shaky start, Republicans might be in a position that they might be able to get the Senate. If they have a good candidate, they could, win the governorship. It's never happened where the Republicans had their own trifecta, but it's possible.
Well, let me ask you on that line, please. Let me interrupt, because the Democrats are going to have, they've created some of their own issues, which you've talked about. The governor, you said it, he's had a pretty tough year.
Yeah.
Just even, get name recognition. He's run for vice president. I don't blame him for losing. But my point is he's had a pretty tough year. And yet it's all seems to say he's coming back. He's going to try it again. How is it that there aren't Republicans lining up? We should have to put him in alphabetical order and say we're just going to talk about the top 15. It's whispers. Why is that? Has Minnesota not been ever set up better to possibly? Fraud. The state of our schools. You can go through a list of stuff and say, this would look like prime pickings.
It really should. And we do have, people say that the Republican bench is short. And it might be, but we got players. We have starters for sure. And I think that depending on, I think what they needed to see was what was Angie Craig going to do? Was Congresswoman Craig going to run for Senate or run for the governor? Well, she's chosen to run for Senate. Yep. Okay. So that is going to inform decisions. Now, is Tim Walz going to run for governor again? Once upon a time, that might have scared somebody. Probably doesn't scare anybody now. A good candidate, Emmer, Stauber, a couple of, some of the better, Jim Nash, some of the people who in the House and Senate that have a lot of respect. I think that they would have a very good shot even at a Tim Walz. So I think you're going to see more people reconsidering some of their protestations for running as the Democrats get weaker and weaker and weaker.
Is it a scared of what if, like you say, Minnesota's never had the trifecta. If an Emmer, I just throw it out, he's a friend of the program. If Emmer were to run, he's sitting as the fifth most powerful man in America, and you come here and try to upset that apple cart and you lose, it's done. You're all right. My point is there's such a, anybody else, Nash, you're going to run for governor, you got to give up everything. You have to hit every door and knock everything. You are doing nothing but this. And the betting odds are against you.
Well, some of it is every job has a shelf life. So Tom Emmer has a considerable amount of power. He's done this a really long time. And being the fifth most powerful person in the country, that's great. But you're answering to people. You can't necessarily do everything the way you want it. If you're a governor, you get to kind of do what you want. And if you run and lose, because he ran for governor and lost before, you know what? You got a beautiful wife, Jackie. You got kids and grandkids. go play hockey and live your life. And I think the same thing is true for Jim Nash or for Pete Stauber, or many of the other names, which I apologize. But I think that to a certain extent, you got to shoot your shot. And this is going to be as good of an opportunity as they have. Because remember, the last time we had the governor, the Republicans, Tim Pawlenty had 2 terms. He shouldn't have won either time. He needed Paul Wellstone's plane crash, and then the
third party.
The third party coming in and massive Democrat fumbles at the end in order to win. And he didn't get 50% either time. I worked for him. I love the man, but that was kind of the realities.
All right. I've got to fly. I'm out of time, but I got to be honest, Brian, I really appreciate you, and I appreciate your insights on this. I thank you for taking the time and being here, and I hope you don't mind if I keep your number and invite you back.
Absolutely anytime, Al. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Brian McDaniel, Momentum Advocacy. Just look it up online, momentum-advocacy.com. Check them out. Appreciate you, my friend.